scored a end-to-end try here, and somewhat a bit of a consolation try for St. John's College. Hillcrest did take a 27-3 lead. That is a try to St. John's College, taking the score to 27-10. It has made the scoreboard look a little bit prettier if you're a St. John's fan, but disappointed nonetheless in the turnout today from St. John's College. It hasn't been the most clinical performance, and Hillcrest definitely have been the better of the two teams. We wait for the kick to come here from St. John's. It's converted by Kadia Nike, and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Hillcrest deserved winners, 27-12. Sorry, 10 to St. John's College. And unfortunately, I definitely think this potentially could be a long season ahead for the Rams of St. John's College. They did not look clinical at all today, and Hillcrest much deserved to come out victors, and they capitalized on the opportunity when they could. And don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We have probably one of the biggest derbies in schoolboy rugby coming up next. Prince Edward versus Churchill. It is going to be a humdinger of a match. It's going to be a humdinger of a match. Huge school rivalry. Yeah, and stay tuned. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the day 7 of the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival. The biggest match here of the tournament, Prince Edward versus Churchill. If you can see on screen, there are people running from all over the place to get a piece of this action, to join in the school tunnels, to support the PE Tigers and Churchill Bulldogs. It is going to be a humdinger of a match here. Churchill haven't had it all their own way this festival, and Prince Edward have looked a little bit laboured, but we do think it's going to be a crack of a match, and we just look forward to seeing probably one of the biggest school rivalries we have in Zimbabwe being shown on display here at the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival. For those of you who are in the Milton Park area and you want to catch this live, come to Prince Edward to catch this action. If you are at home, jump on Facebook, Kwese iFlix, or YouTube. And ladies and gentlemen, strap in, buckle up, get something to drink, get something to eat. This is going to be a cracker.
Well, as you can see on the screen right now, it's going to be a really fantastic game. Prince Edward Tigers ready to come in. Look at the length of that tunnel. It just goes to show that these two teams drum up support even from rival schools as well. They all want to see them doing well, and you can see the Bulldogs are going to be coming through. The Tigers are also going to come on the field of play. You don't even know where they're going to exit out of these two tunnels because they're just so long. But Des, once again, is just fantastic play. Now I am going to be joined in the commentary box by Dirk Villian, and once again you can catch us on the Sand Sport Live Facebook page. So if you just type in at Sand Sport Live, you can be able to catch all the action as it happens. It is the epic titanic clash that has been there for decades and decades. So we're talking about Prince Edward Tigers versus the Churchill High School Bulldogs. Now, the Churchill High School Bulldogs struggled against Milton in that Thursday encounter. They did say that not a number of players were in that side, but once again, you just kind of feel like as if it may have been an excuse, but it was a pretty bad game for Churchill, but not this time around. They will pull all the stops, they will bring their A game on, and they will want to humiliate Prince Edward on home turf, Dirk.
Well, the expectation is exactly that. Is if you take the last games and consider that as a result, they'll lift their game for this, will both teams. And the expectation is that they will be once again a massive game between these two schools.
So the Churchill Bulldogs here. So the Churchill Bulldogs are coming through, and they are pumped up, and you can see as they come onto the field of play, their captain Matthew Owuru leading them. We do know that they've got huge men in the scrum, but once again it will be a matter of whether they have got a good enough backline that will be able to take everything on board. So the Churchill Bulldogs are on the field of play, now waiting for the Tigers to come on. And wow, what a tunnel, Dirk, as you can see on the screen here. My oh my, it looks like the tunnel is going to go all the way out of the field as well.
Well, they do have enough supporters here as Prince Edward make their way onto the field, the Prince Edward Tigers. Well, it's mayhem here at on the Jubilee Field at Prince Edward. What better way? And this, in essence, Ravimbo, is what is now going to start the season. We've had 7 days of great rugby from all age groups, and we head into next week the start of what will be the Schoolboy Rugby League, which is well followed in Zimbabwe and around the world by old pupils and old Zimbabweans. And what bigger game than Churchill versus Prince Edward?
Oh yes, what bigger game than Churchill versus Prince Edward now. The Prince Edward Tigers on their home turf are a very big force to reckon with. And coming up against the Churchill High School Bulldogs, both of them have a 100% record, but you kind of feel Prince Edward have put more points on the board here, and this is exactly what they will be looking for in this fantastic encounter. Now, just talking about the captains here, Tinashe Umbiro played for the under-20 side that lost in the final against Madagascar in the Bartes Cup, as well as two other players as well that came through from the Churchill High School side. The huge lock number 4, as you can see on the screen, at the bottom of your screen there.
So we're almost all set here as Prince Edward do their final war cry. I have obviously the home support, but let me tell you, you're right off Churchill support hidden in the crowd. It's a massive crowd here at Prince Edward. I'm not so sure. Would you like to put a number on that?
It is going to be pretty difficult to see if we can put a number on that, but once again, it is just a fantastic game, and of course we're live in commentary in the commentary box here and enjoying all of the action. I'm here with Dirk Villian, and once again it's interesting because this match is being beamed live not only on the internet, but it is also being beamed live on radio. That is on Capitalk 100.4 FM, leading the conversation. That is of course Harare's talk radio station there, and of course the action will definitely continue here on the field of play. So Tinashe Hombiro, the captain for the Tigers, has ball in hand and will look right now to start play here in what is a tense encounter. You can already see in the terraces there, the songs have already started to be sung. You can see the support for Churchill, the support for Prince Edward, and it definitely will be a massive, massive game here. Now, what are the odds that the Churchill Bulldogs could win here, Dirk?
Well, I think like I said, you write off anyone winning this game. They have a great pack. I think their pack's better than Prince Edward. Where they got to be careful is allowing Prince Edward to run at them. And the back line of Prince Edward looks deadly. If they can control that, they got half a chance, Churchill.
Well, it looks like a bit of a penalty there against Churchill for coming in the side of the ruck, and you kind of fancy that Tinashe Hombiro here will kick for touch, look for a set play, and try and see what they can do here. But it looks like Tinashe Hombiro already taking an early decision to go for posts. Not so sure if he's confident, if he was confident in his own forwards or in his own team, but he decides to go for posts in what is a little bit of a distance just past the halfway line. We know he can kick them well, but the question is, isn't it a little bit too early to be going for posts in the match?
Well, it's a big game. It's a big occasion, and we've said this over the whole week. There's also bragging rights. And I think some of those times it's individual bragging rights. So what better occasion to showcase on TV in front of your home against Churchill to be able to kick a penalty from the halfway line?
Oh, yes.
I don't know if it's the right decision.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think he should kick for touch.
Well, it looks like he's going to go for posts here. We know he's relatively a good, accurate kicker. Arguably the best in the land. He goes for it here. It's looking high and handsome. And it looks like he has missed it. And once again, there'll be questions around that decision. That will be a 22 dropout for Churchill there, and they will feel they can relieve some pressure against Prince Edward. But the question of it being a good one will be the one there, because their kicking hasn't been that great as Churchill.
Well, the only thing is that if he's missed the penalty, which he has, he's got the opportunity for Churchill to kick it back to him on the 22 dropout. So not all loss. Was a decision a poor one? Maybe not. If he had kicked it would have been a great decision. But it means that Prince Edward get the ball back and have an opportunity to attack. And we said, watch out this Prince Edward line running back at you. Churchill need to make sure that that defence of theirs is strong, it's aggressive, and they're closing down that back line of Prince Edward. He has a chance.
And once again, here comes Prince Edward on the attack down the near side, and allowing that back line to come at you is very, very dangerous. And already Churchill being penalized there for coming through the side of the ruck. Now, finally, Churchill do pull Prince Edward out for touch, but again, they were not 10 meters back, and again, Prince Edward have the advantage here, but they are now deep in the 22 of the Churchill Bulldogs, and once again, this is the time that is going to go for touch, I guess, since it's closer to touch, and that will be a better decision, and then they can try go for the maul and then push Churchill over the line. But once again, you spoke about the strength of the Churchill Bulldogs pack here, and I don't think you really want to test them too much in terms of going in for a scrum or even going in for a maul.
Well, the big question is also going to be is which team, which I think they both do to a certain degree, but I think more Prince Edward, they like more unstructured play. And maybe the call would be is if Churchill is perceived to be the team that is the underdog in this game, is to slow the game down as much as they can. Frustrate Prince Edward. Don't play the game that Prince Edward wants to play. They want to play a fast-paced game, get it through their back line, And Churchill need to make sure that they slow that down. It's a good driving maul from the Tigers. They're now just a metre or two short, and a chance for them now to get it through that back line. There's the cross kick.
And it looks like it was slightly overcooked by Tinashe Ombiro there. Not so sure if Churchill finally got their hands on the ball, but it looks like once again it's a penalty to Prince Edward. Not so sure if they were all onside, those runners from Prince Edward, but then again, it looks like the referee on the field of play had that one on good authority, and it looks like it's a kick out for touch once again, and they will look to go for the maul. It looks like they were a little bit disjointed in their defense, were Churchill, but the line out comes out very quick there, and it's bobbling around. And it looks like it's a knock-on from Prince Edward in that line-out. It will be scrummed down and Churchill ball here. And Prince Edward kind of fluffing their lines at their line-out, and that knock-on going to the advantage of Churchill there, Dirk.
Well, talking about making little mistakes, Churchill guilty of that 2 days ago, and they nearly went down to Milton, I think it was. Because of silly mistakes. Their handling was poor, and no doubt this encounter here, they'll always lift themselves against the Prince Edward side, and no doubt that probably gave them a wake-up call. They have been under pressure in the first opening encounters here, but the mistake from Prince Edward may be giving Churchill an opportunity to clear their lines.
And so Churchill there with a good scrum. The feed was nice and clean. The ball comes out. They will clear their lines. And it looks like a pretty good kick for touch. There will Prince Edward restart play. The referee allows them to restart play. And it looks like there was almost an intercept there from Churchill, but not so sure if it was knocked on or not. But Prince Edward pick up the pieces and look to set up their attack here. So Churchill Bulldogs lining up their defense here. They cannot afford to miss a tackle, and a good tackle coming from their captain there. But once again, Prince Edward retained possession. Another tackle comes through from Churchill here, and it looks like it is going to be a very tough game, a game of fine margins. And unfortunately there, coming through the side of the ruck, Prince Edward, a penalty against them, and they are going to see what they're going to do from here. I would fancy that Churchill will kick for touch, and they will find touch and maybe go for a set piece. With the huge forwards they have, they should go for a big maul as well. But once again, you're also listening to Capital 100.4 FM live here at the 2019 Dairibord World Schools Rugby Festival. A fantastic kick from Churchill there, which puts them past the halfway line.
An opportunity now for Churchill to build that line out. Like you said, they got some really big forwards available to maul and run this ball up. It's the first time they've really been into the half of Prince Edward. And like I said, notice how they've slowed the game down. I have no doubt that that's part of their tactic. That will irritate Prince Edward. I think Prince Edward want a nice, fast game. They want the ball coming out. And if Churchill can just slow it down, use their captain, their big number 8, and let him take control of this game, you might see Churchill don't write off a chance that Churchill will really push Prince Edward here.
Most definitely, but the question will be at the present moment, can they put the ball straight in the line out? We have seen some line outs not coming out right, but they're already lining up for that line out, and it looks like a very good line out from Churchill, and they collect the ball very well out to the scrum half. Wonderful penetrating run from the very diminutive flyer from Churchill. It goes for a big run, finally brought to ground by Prince Edward. Now Churchill on the advantage, a little bit of a sidestep there, but Prince Edward are definitely on the back foot, and the fly-off came out with a wonderful run. Who would have expected the little fly-off to have done what he did? But a really good move from Churchill there, and penetrating the defensive lines of Prince Edward. Not so sure what's going to happen here as Churchill still maintain possession. The ball comes out for Churchill here. Can they go for another big hit and maybe try to penetrate Prince Edward here? The ball coming out quick again from the fly-off. They do have a little bit of an overlap, a twist and a turn. Unfortunately, they have been held up here. Again, another sidestep, losing the ball in contact, but it looks like a penalty has been signaled by the referee. This is scintillating rugby play. Churchill has come out to play, and the Tigers are definitely on the back foot. Not so sure whether the Bulldog is going to maul the Tiger or the Tiger is going to scar the Bulldog, but I can tell you it's fantastic action at Prince Edward High School here. A penalty just close to 5 meters away from the try line of Prince Edward. A quick tap and go. The captain takes it in, a huge hit against Prince Edward defense. The ball finally comes out, again comes to their big lock, the big danger man there. We know what he can do when he gets the ball. A quick pick and go from the captain here. They're over the try line, but it looks like they might have been held up. The ball is finally coming through for Churchill here. They try to go over. Is it over? No, it's not. Centimeters away. They get the ball out here, and it's try time for the Bulldogs. And you can already hear the crowd going, who? It is the Bulldogs who draw first blood against Prince Edward. Good face play there, Dirk.
Well, it all came from that mistake on the halfway line from the set piece, the line out. Their fly half, great little vision to see the gap and not pass. But there's got to be questions around the Prince Edward defence. How did that fly half get through? He ran all the way to the try line, and with the big forwards of Churchill, you're not going to stop them that close.
You definitely aren't going to stop them that close. And Dirk, we did speak about when seconds play, it's usually a reflection as well of how the first team plays. We saw the Prince Edward second team being put under pressure yesterday in their match, and we did question that how was their defensive line going to stand. It didn't stand when they were put under pressure, and it's the same thing that has happened to the Tigers here. They were put under pressure, and finally Churchill got the try. Now they are going to be going for the conversion here. And the number 12 lining up for the kick. He goes for it. It looks clean. And it is over. So Churchill take the lead here, 7-0. And in a game of fine margins, you kind of expect that Churchill have drawn first blood and Prince Edward will have to come through. And looking at the replay on the screen here, the ball came out there. That very dangerous and the big four, big lock there, the number 4. The ball was picked up once again. A good pick and go from the captain. They had gone over the try line there, but once again, the ball couldn't quite come down. The ball came out from the ruck. It was taken over. A twist and a turn, and again from the restart here, Prince Edward are looking aggressive and looking to go over, and Prince Edward there unfortunately holding onto the ball in the ruck, and that will be a penalty for Churchill here. And this is scintillating stuff. The atmosphere is tense. Not so sure how Prince Edward are going to come back into this match, but I'm sure Coach Sean D'Souza will have a couple of words at halftime, Dirk.
Well, I think that it goes back again to Prince Edward. And like we said about Churchill, is they need to make sure that they do the basics correct. They need to make sure that they put Prince Edward under pressure, which they've done, and slow the game down. In the same way, Prince Edward need to still continue playing their game. What they haven't done in the last 5 minutes, though, they haven't had much hand on the ball. And that will irritate them. When you're not having your hands on the ball and you don't have any possession, it's very difficult to win a game.
Most definitely, and another line out comes here for Churchill High School, and they are really on the ascendancy at the moment. It looks like they go for another line out. A good take by the captain, Matthew Owuru. Prince Dube here comes with another pass down the line. Will Churchill penetrate here? Fantastic leg drive from Churchill, and once again they secure the ball really well. The ball comes out on the blind side. Another big hit and a lovely pop up in the air, and it looks like Churchill here are extremely confident that they want to beat Prince Edward. The ball comes out once again, well distributed. Once again, the ball comes out to their danger, number 4, but he got an ankle tap there, and it looks like Churchill, Prince Edward putting their hands in the ruck, but it looks like it was a penalty for Prince Edward, and they are on the ascendancy. The line speed is looking pretty good, but good defense from Churchill. The penalty advantage still remains to Prince Edward, and once again, the referee is going to blow. So it looks like Churchill will have to go back 10 here, and they're going to receive a to be penalized for that, and Tinashe Ombiro will go for touch this time round and most likely take our advice about gaining some territory. Go for your set piece play. We saw how their maul was when they were out in the corner, and they will go forward. Once again, a reminder of the scoreline. It is Churchill leading 7-0 against the Prince Edward Tigers at the iconic Jubilee Field during the 2019 Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival. It is on Facebook at Sandsport Live. You can also go on the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival page and you can find it as well. The ball comes in for the line out. A hospital pass from Prince Edward, but finally going to hand. Once again, they look to pass it out down the line, but it looks like right now Prince Edward a little bit frustrated. A tackle comes through there from Churchill, and not so sure what the referee has called here, but it looks like there's a bit of an injury to one of the Churchill Bulldogs players, and that brings a halt to play at the moment, Dirk.
Well, those last couple of moves from Prince Edward showing you again they want to play a fast-paced game. Quick tap, caught Churchill on the hop, and they were naughty because they should have got back 10. Penalty re-given, quick kick into the touchline, a quick line out. So they're trying to speed up the game, and Churchill just need to make sure that they frustrate them, slow the game down. There's an opportunity here now for the captain of Prince Edward to try and add 3 points. He's missed one already, but he has another opportunity for him to maybe pull back a little bit on that 7-point lead of Churchill.
Trying to pull back on that 7-point lead will be a little bit difficult, especially when you hear certain benches and terraces singing out the name of Bulldogs, and it's very difficult to get your concentration right. Looking at the crowd size here at the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival, every stand is jam-packed. You can even see certain people packing themselves at the side screen there, the white side screen for Prince Edward there. But once again, it is a jam-packed place. Tinashe Ombiro comes through for the kick. It looks pretty good, and the linesmen, the judges rather, lift up their flags. So Prince Edward reduced the arrears here, but Churchill still leading 7 points to 3 against the Prince Edward Tigers, and already 14 minutes gone in this match. And wow, what a match it has been so far. Scintillating action, end-to-end stuff. You really can't fault any of these players for maybe making a mistake, because it is the high stakes right now, Dirk.
So 7 points to 3. Churchill will kick to Prince Edward. And the kickoff is poor.
Unfortunately, giving back the advantage to Prince Edward there. Maybe they could have gotten some runners on the ball. Pretty bad with the restart there, but Churchill Bulldogs here are currently missing their lock, the number 4, the big number 4, and we know the kind of pressure that he can put on your defensive line, especially when you don't take him down. But Prince Edward did a good job there, and unfortunately he got injured on his eye, and currently he is sitting out. A big question as to how that might affect the Churchill High School scrum, who are at the present a little bit dominant against Prince Edward here, Dirk.
Yeah, they are, but he has an opportunity away from the scrums and the forwards. We haven't really seen Prince Edward on the front foot, and when we have in the past, maybe against better opposition, they'll struggle a little bit, but they're really exciting with ball in hand, and they like running the ball, and he has an opportunity for them. It's middle of the field, so they've got options both sides, sort of on the halfway line, and a chance for Prince Edward to really run at these Churchill Bulldogs.
And so looking for a clean feed into the scrum. It comes through, a big shove by Churchill there, but the ball finally comes out. Tinashe Ombiro tries to go alone there. I'm not so sure if they can get turnover ball, can Churchill, but the ball comes out very quickly from Prince Edward. They will look to run their lines, but passing backward a little bit Prince Edward there, and they finally come through, but a good tackle coming from the diminutive flyer from Prince Edward, from Churchill rather, called Prince Moyo there, and he tries to go into the ruck, but unfortunately dipping your hands in the ruck, and you are going to be penalized. So a quick tap and go by Prince Edward here from that penalty that was given, and the ball will come running down the line. Churchill with some good line speed at the moment, but a sidestep comes through to open up the Churchill defense, and once again they go into contact. Prince Edward with another pick and go here, but it looks like the ball was stolen away, and they were still on advantage, but not letting go of the man in the tackle, and that's another penalty for Prince Edward here. The question is, can Tinashe Ombiro take advantage, kick into touch, and allow for a set-piece play here, Dirk?
Well, I think that's definitely the call. Again, example, Prince Edward won a fast game. what Churchill are going to do is the ill discipline. They'll give away penalties because they're under pressure. And not because it's dirty play, but just because the pressure is relentless from Prince Edward. And Prince Edward need to realize that ball in hand is going to allow them to put pressure on the opposition. No different to what Churchill did when they scored their try. The fast-paced game as well will be difficult for Churchill to control. Here's a chance for a rolling maul for the Prince Edward Tigers. We've seen one already. And referee says he's happy with that sack. I'm not so sure if that was legitimate. But now played just in front of the posts for Prince Edward, 10 metres short. And there's the little knock-on.
Oh, well, there was a knock-on and there was a huge tackle that came from the Churchill High School tackle there. And not so sure where that advantage is going to go through, but there was a knock-on from Prince Edward. And you kind of fancy that it will be scrum down and Churchill ball. And that's exactly what the referee will signal at this very moment. You are currently listening to Capital 100.4 FM, leading the conversation. But as the action continues here at the 2019 Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival, a scrum down here for Churchill. It was good pressure from Prince Edward, but unfortunately, Tinashe Umbiro there, you kind of feel maybe the nerves got to him as the ball came to him, maybe trying to decide what to do there, whether to pass the ball, go for the sidestep, and ultimately knocking on the ball. Here comes out the ball and an eighth-man break from Matthew Owuru. And that was a big hit against his opposite captain. That's Tinashe Umbiro. But the ball is going to come out, and I'm sure they're going to go for a kick there. They go for the kick. It doesn't look too good, but the thing is, it goes into touch, and that's exactly what they need. They look to restart play, but the referee calls back play and says it will be a line out, and it will be Prince Edward ball right here, Dirk.
Well, in the end, it's turned out to be a great kick. He was under a lot of pressure, the fly half of Churchill. He's found touch halfway between his 10-yard line and the 22. And Prince Edward quickly getting to the line out. It's a nice quick ball off the back. A chance for Prince Edward to run. A very narrow in defence are Churchill. He gets ball and defender, does the Prince Edward centre. But it's attack again from Prince Edward. Not so sure if that was the best decision.
And, well, here comes the ball. It was well taken by the Churchill Bulldogs here, and I'm sure they'll want to get out of their own half right now. The ball comes to the fly-off. He tries to go for a sidestep, but finally taken to ground there. But good clearing of the ruck by the captain, Matthew Owuru. The ball finally comes out to Churchill there, and they will look to go for a kick here and try to run. But not so sure what will happen here. It looks like the referee calling for a high tackle on Churchill there, and that will be a penalty to Churchill in their own half. So it is a bit of a defensive penalty for Churchill, and they will look to take advantage here. It looks like the young man who is on the near side for Churchill has got some pace on him, and if they could maybe get some of those high balls, they might just be able to put Prince Edward under pressure as well.
Well, I was wondering if maybe the ref blew that a little bit early. You know, it was a penalty advantage anyway, but he could have let that bounce one or two more times and see if it would have played into Churchill's favour. Not to be, though, so kick into touch just on the halfway line. It'll be Churchill's ball. Reminder that they lead 7 points to 3. So a chance now for the forwards of Churchill to make some kind of play and to get advantage again, and hopefully for them, Churchill to score again.
Oh, yes, and with that advantage, not so sure if you can call a scrum there. Their scrums have been pretty good. They could have maybe gone for a scrum and actually maybe tried to run the ball down the line, but their lineouts have been relatively good, and they will back themselves. So the ball comes out here, a little bit scrappy, but it finally comes out to Churchill. They'll go for a big hit against Prince Edward. The ball is left out, but it looks like hands in the ruck for Prince Edward. They're coming by the side, and once again, it's a penalty for Churchill, and they're going to take it, and I'm sure they will kick for touch once again and slow the game down. A good strategy that you've been talking about, Dirk, as they continue. And once again, looking at the amount of time in the first half so far, Churchill are leading 7 points to 3, and it is 22 minutes gone in the match, and it is going to be a line out, and it remains Churchill's ball. Now, it looks like the number 4 there has been stitched up, has been bandaged there, and looks to be coming back on to the field of play. And we know the size that he brings. We know the power in terms of his leg drives that he brings onto the field of play. And Prince Edward will be very wary of that, Dirk.
They will be. One thing Prince Edward need to be wary of as well is giving away these penalties to Churchill. It's playing straight into their hands. It's allowing them to slow the game down. It's allowing them territorial advantage and to play the game in the areas that they want to play in. They need to just be careful of that. It's a good line out for Churchill. And referee's going to give a penalty, which I think was a shoulder barge.
Oh, yes, it looks like it was a shoulder barge there. And already the referee calling in the captain, Tinashe Ombito, to try and also warn his charges on not to shoulder charge there, and to ensure that he also tells his charges not to find themselves in another penalizable offense. So once again, if that shoulder charge happens again, you kind of feel a yellow card is going to come out for Prince Edward. And when you're 14 men down, it's very difficult to defend. But looking at the crowd there, Prince Edward trying to urge on their team there, and it is jam-packed in that terrace. Churchill are going to go for another kick for touch, but it looks like a very, very poor kick from Churchill there. And Prince Edward will now set their line alight here. But a good tackle coming from Churchill to try and stop the Prince Edward line. But on the far side, it looks like they have broken. And once again, they are going to let their line run there. Churchill, Prince Edward rather. But maybe not a good decision to try go back on the blind side. But Churchill looked to have grabbed the ball there from the ruck, and they have it, and it looks like through the legs, a wonderful pass for them. Very poor ball coming to the fly-off, and it's open for play apparently, and Churchill present the ball here. Can they get it out? And it looks like crisp passing, and it comes out to Churchill here. Can they get it? They get it to their number 5, who likes to wants to go into some contact there and maybe go for a recyclable ball. But it looks like he has been held up in the mall here. But Churchill continue to drive, and Prince Edward has stolen the ball here. They need to get back on their feet. They try to go for the grubber, but Churchill secured the ball here whilst Prince Edward tried to fall into the ruck, but the ball is still presented to Churchill. Prince Edward falling into the ruck, and ultimately it's a penalty against Prince Edward. Prince Edward looked to be making a lot of mistakes at the present moment, and Churchill doing a great job of taking advantage.
Well, I think both teams guilty of some bad mistakes. Churchill guilty there of some bad, poor passes, which just basically broke the momentum. And then decision-making from Prince Edward is just the last 2 or 3 minutes been a little bit scrappy from both teams. Again, Prince Edward obviously want to play a fast game, so no doubt it will bring that little bit of element of scrappiness into it because you're going to make more mistakes. Churchill, this will play straight into their hands. This is exactly what they want them to do. They want them to try and play as quick as they can, make the mistakes, because it gives Churchill the opportunity to, 1, counter-attack, or 2, turn the ball around and be in the position that they are. Play now just over the 10-yard line of Prince Edward, and a chance again for the forwards of Churchill to build something for their team.
And what has been effective from Churchill so far are their lineouts. It looks like another big sidestep from the captain, Uhuru, who definitely has, of course, the support of the fans here. But it looks like not letting go in the tackle are Prince Edward. And because of that, they have conceded another penalty close to their own 22. And it looks like it's directly in front of the post. But Churchill are going to opt to go for touch here, hoping it's not a poor kick. And then they can go for another set piece and find what they can do here. Now the ball goes over, well over into touch there, and that means they are now deep in the 22 of Prince Edward. And one of the things we can say here, Dirk, is that Churchill has won all of their lineouts. Not one have they lost. Even the ones that have been coming through, it looks like they're very confident with their lineouts right now, and if they go for a maul here, they could well just get another try. The ball comes in, but it looks like this time around Prince Edward contesting for the line out very well. Tinashe Ombito kicks it over the defensive line of Churchill, but once again, Prince Edward were in an offside position as they were going for that kick. And you can hear the shout coming from behind me to go for post, but once again, they'll try and make a decision here. and it looks like the kicking tee is coming onto the field of play. Now, not so sure what's going to happen. It looks like Churchill are going to go for the scrum, and I feel it's a good decision. Their scrums have been very powerful, and they've really put Prince Edward on the back foot. Now, not so sure what the move is going to be here, but I've loved the flair and maybe some of the dominance and the courage that the young flyer of Churchill has had, even going into this match.
Well, scrum may be a good decision, but it means now they've left 6 points out on the field, slap bang in front of the posts. There's always an option for the big captain to take it himself. He does that, and he scores another 5-pointer. The decision is vindicated from Churchill. They score their second try, and now extend that lead over Prince Edward.
Oh yes, they extend their lead over Prince Edward. It is now Churchill leading 12 points to 3, and a big try coming through from their big burly eighth man, and that is Matthew Owuru. So that decision well vindicated. As we're going to be going through the real replay, I can tell you it is action on the field of play. It cannot be stopped. The Bulldogs are definitely mauling the Tigers at the present moment. They are guilty of a couple of mistakes, but right now Churchill are on the ascendancy. They've slowed down the play. They've ensured that Prince Edward have not had the ball in hand, and yes, they are now leading 12 points to 3, and with the conversion successful, it means Churchill are now leading 14 points to 3, and 29 minutes gone in the match right now. You feel halftime is about to come. So as we're looking at the replay right now, it was clear what was in their mind. They wanted to go for an 8-man break. Prince Edward defense caught napping there. Hombiro there unfortunately missing the tackle, and Matthew Owuru going over the try line.
Well, you weren't going to stop him that close to the try line. The question, however, has got to be, where was the flanker? It was too obvious that the captain was going to pick up the ball at the back of the scrum, and he was just nowhere. The captain of Prince Edward had no chance there.
And another big high ball comes for Churchill here. They look to offload. Not so sure if Prince Edward were onside there, but it looks like there was a knock-on from Prince Edward first, and then a knock-on from Churchill. And it looks like the referee has signaled halftime in this pulsating match. And already you can see Coach Sean D'Souza immediately marching straight to the dressing room of Prince Edward, not looking too happy, but I'm sure Jeff Madaki here should be feeling very proud of what his boys have done so far.
Well, what a great first half, and Churchill deserved leaders. Prince Edward just haven't been able to get that momentum, and partly maybe their fault, but to give a lot of credit to Churchill. It seems that they've done their homework. Their handling's been a lot better than what we've seen in the tournament in the last couple of days, and they've punished Prince Edward when they've needed to, and that's the reason why they lead 14 points to 3. I have no doubt that Prince Edward will go into the change room. They'll have a bit of a chat, and what we've seen in the first half, I think we're going to have more excitement in the second.
Most definitely we're going to have more excitement. Most definitely we're going to have more excitement in the second half, but we do take a short break as we go for the halftime right now. And Churchill Bulldogs are leading 14 points to 3 at the halftime break. welcome back to this pulsating game, the last game of the entire 2019 Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival, and what a befitting match it is. It's Prince Edward Tigers versus Churchill High School Bulldogs, and we can tell you right now, Churchill are on the ascendancy. They're currently leading 14 points to 3 at the moment, and it seems like the Tigers don't seem to have a solution to what the Churchill Bulldogs have been able to provide on the field of play. And once again, Dirk did point out, if they can keep the ball in the forwards, then Churchill would have mastered the plan. Now it looks like we're ready to restart the game. Referee just making sure that we have all men on the field of play, and this time round Churchill will be kicking to Prince Edward, so they will want a quick start to the game here. Prince Edward, maybe a quick try to somewhat unsettle the Bulldogs and then really get under their skin.
Yeah, I don't think there were too many kind words from the coach of Prince Edward to his charges, but maybe that's what they needed, a little break to come out and maybe just work on that game plan of theirs, because it's not working against Churchill's side. That's really come to play.
Well, the ball seems to be a bit scrappy right now, being passed backwards by Churchill, and finally the pass is coming through their hands there. It looks like sidestepping back into traffic, and that was a little bit unnecessary there, but nonetheless Churchill retained possession. Ball comes out here, looking to pass the ball down the line, but stopped once again by Prince Edward, and they're continuing in terms of their face play. Nice good hits from Churchill at the moment, and Prince Edward still on the back foot, but at least they're outside of their own 22, now looking to penetrate here. Now it looks like Churchill were holding on to the ball as they went into that tackle, and Prince Edward will now have an opportunity to maybe kick it deep into Churchill's half and then maybe get a set piece. But one of the things, as I was talking about, was that Churchill have been pretty successful with their lineouts. Of round about the 6 lineouts we saw in the first half, only Prince Edward were able to turn over 1 and get 1. And so it looks like as well that in terms of the lineouts, Prince Edward aren't quite there.
Well, I'm not so sure what's happened here. The captain of Prince Edward has walked all the way over to pick up the ball to kick it, and then he's just gone to the floor. It looks like a shoulder injury. Look, I think that the basics still remain. Where they are right now, it's got to be a kick into touch, set up the line out and try and build some kind of momentum, regardless of the fact that it might not really be working. In the first half, they had 2 opportunities on the near side, deep in the territory of Churchill, which they bundled both of them. So I'm not writing off the line-out of Prince Edward. I think they've still got a chance. They just need to get some territorial gain. It was better defence from them. It was a more rushed defence. When the minute that they put Churchill under pressure, Churchill all of a sudden were fumbling the ball, they were dropping it, and they were sort of going backwards. I'm not so sure what that call is.
Well, apparently there was a penalty for Churchill there, and the ball kicked into touch finally by Tinashe Hombiro there, and it looks like it's going to be a line out for Prince Edward here, looking to take advantage of that penalty that they've gotten. Now Churchill were pretty good in the lineouts, but you just kind of feel there's a bit of a strategy that Prince Edward want to try and employ as they continue on the ascendancy. Once again, you can enjoy all of this action on the social media pages at Sandsport Live on Facebook. You can go to the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival page as well, and you can find the action there. Go onto YouTube, you find the action as well. A very good line out from Prince Edward, but it looks like a rushing defense from Churchill here to put some pressure on Prince Edward, and of course their number 6 there, that's Tadiwa Nashe Kainga, riding a couple of tackles. Now Prince Edward looked to be under serious pressure from Churchill, who have got a very good rushing defense here, but they are building up an overlap on the near side here. It looks like they're going to go for the run, but that's a missed tackle there. It looks like a kick over. Can Churchill get to the ball first? And it looks like they get to the ball first. It's put down there, but once again it looks like the medical team might be called in there, not so sure. And
I think it was that barge. He kicked the ball and was taken out off the ball, and the question is whether or not the referee deems that it was a late tackle. So this could be an interesting call.
Oh yes, it could be an interesting call, and if it does come through, it could be a yellow card here for Churchill. And once again, Not so sure what's happening here, but it
22
looks...
called, I think.
Oh, yes, it looks like it's a 22 dropout, so the referee there not deeming that as a barge, or not deeming that as a penalty call against Churchill. Now, it looks like there are more discussions that are happening here between Prince Edward and the ref, but once again, the referee calls. It is a 22 dropout, and it comes deep, and it comes into the half of Prince Edward. A missed tackle there, another missed tackle there, and a pass finally to Anthony Mundange Fufu there. But finally, the ball comes out as a turnover from Churchill. They pass the ball out wide. Churchill are going on the ascendancy here. Tries to come back into some traffic, and maybe not so sure if that was the best idea, but they still retain possession. The ball comes out here from Churchill. And once again, they continue on the ascendancy, and it looks like it's going to be face play again. The ball coming to Matthew Owuru. The ball coming out wide. I don't know why Churchill slowed down there. And once again, it was a forward pass. Not so sure what was happening there from one of the forwards of Churchill there. Maybe it was like we're in dreamland. It looks like we've got an overlap we never dreamt we could have.
Well, all of a sudden it looks like Prince Edward definitely playing second fiddle to Churchill here. Again, the excitement, I think everyone wants their hands on the ball, just making little mistakes, and that's what costs you in games. You're on the front foot, you've got the defensive patterns at 6s and 7s, they're all over the show, and then a simple little knock-on that just ruins the whole thing for you.
Oh yes, and the action is definitely live at the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival on social media, as well as on Capi Talk 100.4 FM, Harare's premium talk radio station, covering this action and giving you live commentary. But of course, Dirk there just giving some pointers there as to that pressure, and of course wanting to have hand on ball. So the second half is well underway. Churchill still leading 14 points to 3 against Prince Edward. It's a good feed in the scrum, but it looks like the scrum is wheeling here, and it is going to be another scrum once again, a retake of that scrum, and it will be Prince Edward ball, Dirk.
So a reset scrum, it was an area that Prince Edward were okay in, apart from the size difference probably that Churchill a little bit bigger than them. They've managed to cope in the scrums, but all of a sudden little facets of the game starting to turn in Churchill's favour, and you'd like to think that the more the game goes on, where Prince Edward are these points behind, they trail 14-3, it'll be more and more difficult for them to come back. A wayward pass causes the problem again, but they're on the front foot, Prince Edward. They need to get it through the hands, and they need to really get over that
Oh yes,
line.
now they're putting the hammer down. Can they go into the corner flag? The ball comes through, but unfortunately there it looks like it was a knock-on from Prince Edward, and unfortunately they've given over possession back to Churchill there, but they were on the front foot and they really were looking dangerous there. But a very good defensive tackle from Churchill, giving them that turnover ball, a knock-on from Prince Edward. But this is very uncharacteristic, and I guess when the defensive lines keep on rushing up against you, then you tend to make a lot of mistakes, and that's what we're seeing from Prince Edward. They were very fluid throughout the festival, but right now, too many mistakes.
Well, two opportunities for them. The one earlier just kicked too far, so dotted down 22, but Prince Edward with a real opportunity. This one deep into the half of Churchill and a little knock-on. So Churchill, like you said, need to be careful, because those are the elements that Prince Edward, that's their strength. They want to run at you, they want their back line to run, and they just got to be careful. They're lucky that Prince Edward are keeping them in the game.
All right, and there comes Churchill with the ball there as they look to run the ball out of the 22. But I've loved the heart and the fight that this young fly-off from Churchill has here. And it looks like it's a knock-on there just outside the 22 of Churchill, and it hands possession back to Prince Edward. You just kind of think there that maybe a kick out, maybe for touch, or maybe a kick behind the defensive lines of Prince Edward was going to help them, but unfortunately trying to run the ball down the line out of their own 22, and once again it has been a mistake that has happened throughout the festival. Now, not so sure what's going to happen with their defensive line. They need to rush at Prince Edward if they're going to cause them to make mistakes, and when you rush at them, make sure you don't miss a tackle, because when you do, then you know it's try time for Prince Edward. The ball goes into the scrum. It was a good feed there, but bobbling up and down. Prince Edward looking to cut the defense of Churchill open, and they do so well enough, and it is try time for Prince Edward. And it looks like finally they got their lines running and they were able to penetrate the defense of Churchill there.
Well, finally they get over the whitewash. It's been a long time coming and they've struggled, and partly because Churchill have played a really good game, but something was going to have to give. They've had a couple of opportunities, and on this occasion a little inside ball and the runner just straightening and really putting the hammer down has got him through the defensive lines of Churchill and got them over for their first try.
Yes, now they're over for their first try. That came from their left winger, number 11. That's Daryl Makwasha there. So a fantastic try from Daryl Makwasha in order to put Prince Edward on the ascendancy. And now Tinashe Ombiro here will have the unenviable task of ensuring that they can reduce the arrears to just 4 points, because at the present moment Churchill are leading 14 points to 8 with the kick yet to come. So Tinashe Ombiro shaping up for the kick right here as they are pressing against Churchill. Here comes the kick. It looks pretty good. It's in between the posts. It's a successful one. So Tinashe Ombiro finally being able to override the nerves and doing well there. Now here comes the replay. The ball was bobbling up a little bit there, but the scrum half a little bit awake to the inside pass that was there, and Churchill's defense was split open, and there it came. Try time for Prince Edward Tigers. So now the score is Churchill High School Bulldogs 14, Prince Edward Tigers 10, in what is an enthralling encounter which has got everyone standing on their feet. Now there's support from the Churchill Terrace, there's support from the Prince Edward Terrace, and you kind of feel that one is going to be singing a better song. Now the ball bubbling up a little bit there, but finally Prince Edward get the ball down the line, and once again they've got a huge overlap and the near side. An offload comes from Prince Edward. He tries to step back inside, but Churchill was well aware of that sidestep coming back inside, and it looks like Prince Edward have got the oomph now to try and push against Churchill here, and Prince Edward have the ball. They get it out, and it comes through to their captain, who decides to go for the kick. It is charged down by Churchill there, and it pushes them a little bit further back into their own half, and Prince Edward seemed to be not finding the right pass to get out, but finally a missed tackle comes through, and finally a good tackle from Churchill. And the ball comes back here as Churchill are going to continuously push through here. The score remains 14-10, and it looks like Churchill were in an offside position, and that offside call going against them. Not so sure if they're going to go for a quick tap, but it looks like Tinashe Ombiro is going to go for a kick for touch, and then they will take advantage of a set piece. The kick looks good. It comes out just past the halfway line here at the Jubilee field. Prince Edward right now do have the ascendancy at the present moment, and you can see a warm up on the bench of Prince Edward here. And so the score still remains Churchill 14, Prince Edward 10, with the line out to Prince Edward yet to come. They come into the line out, a little bit of a shimmy, they throw the ball, they try to contest. Churchill contests very well, but unfortunately there, that was an offside call. Now not so sure what the referee is going to say here, and he's going to call the young man back here, and he's going to call the captain here, and once again he is going to tell them that, look, it is a penalty offense. And Matthew Owuru trying to explain to the referee, but once again, you know, the referee is the custodian of the laws of the game, and he's there to execute and implement. So with the penalty here, because of an offside call, the question will be, will they go for touch or will they go for post? But it looks like Tinashe Ombiro here will go for the safe option, and once again, a lovely kick into touch, and it looks like it's now in the 22 of Churchill, and you kind of feel now Prince Edward have the advantage and the ascendancy.
Well, the momentum's definitely shifted here in favor of Prince Edward, and that's a good decision that they've kicked for touch. It means that they'll keep the play deep inside Churchill's half. 1-2, an opportunity for them to add more points. They've just scored a try, a converted try, and another chance for them. There's another penalty advantage, so the referee will blow them again. And I think that this is a good decision. There's the quick tap from the scrum half as he got the support. The little offload.
Loses the ball in contact, but men out wide, and it is try time for Prince Edward. And we were talking about the ascendancy and the pressure that Prince Edward were putting there. Maybe Churchill lost their concentration as they were going through the game there, and they shouldn't have stopped. They really needed to have opened their eyes and seen what they needed to have done. But already you can see Prince Edward celebrating there as the try comes through from their right winger. That should be Rodney Nechironga there. But as we're going to be coming back to the replay, you find that Churchill went asleep when that penalty was given. They were trying to discuss with the referee when they should have been concentrating on play, and they were punished. And now Prince Edward take the lead. They are now leading 15 points to 14 with the conversion yet to come from Tinashe Hombiro there, Dirk.
Well, we have seen a couple of teams do that the whole week where they just lose concentration. And you know what? I guess you're entitled to ask the referee and give him your opinion, but the bottom line is he's there to ref and you're there to play rugby. And if you're caught napping because you were trying to argue with the referee and not defend, then that's your fault.
Definitely it will be your fault, and it will remain as your fault. Now with Tinashe Hombiro ready to take the conversion here. He comes through. It looks like a pretty strong kick, but unfortunately it doesn't go between the posts. So now Prince Edward have got a slender lead against the Churchill Bulldogs. As the replay comes here, you find Matthew Owuro trying to discuss with the referee, and Churchill not awake and attentive there. A missed tackle, a second missed tackle. Finally the tackle comes through, the offload comes out again. They had 3 men out wide, and it was always going to be try time there, and Churchill got the try when they needed it most. So Churchill are ready to restart here. A question about whether they're going to be able to take that ball. It's a very high kick. It's taken by Churchill at the restart here, and good leg drive from Churchill. They have another opportunity to attack here, and the ball comes out from the young man Prince. A good rushing defense from Prince Edward, and already you can find Prince Edward trying to push there, and it looks like Churchill were coming through the side of the ruck. And those will be the small penalty mistakes that they will continuously concede, and that will give Prince Edward the advantage here. It is scintillating stuff once again here coming from Churchill and Prince Edward. And Prince Edward kick for touch, and they are close to the 22 of Churchill here. And once again, the momentum is clearly in the favor of the Prince Edward Tigers.
I tell you one thing Prince Edward have done better in the second half, and that was a perfect example. They've been in the face of Churchill. So every time Churchill's had the ball, rush defence. Yes, every now and again you're going to give away a penalty, but they've really put them under pressure, and Churchill haven't been able to cope. We've seen some knock-ons. We've seen them give away penalties or holding on to the ball. They've really struggled. So that's one thing Prince Edward have done better, and they continue to get better and better, and Churchill just seem to be struggling more and more.
Well, it looks like Churchill are trying to get the kick back, but it looks like they have the advantage at the moment, and it looks like they're going to go for a sidestep and try push forward here. But wonderful leg drive from Churchill and good clearing of the ruck. Not so sure if they maintain the advantage here, but that pass going absolutely nowhere, and Prince Edward there definitely rushing into the face of Churchill. So the ball comes here and for Churchill, but they're deep in their own 22, and you kind of feel that they need to somewhat kick for touch as Prince Edward are trying to go for the turnover ball here. The kick comes out from Prince Moyo here, and they try to go for an early line out, but once again Churchill are maybe somewhat awake now, but really a lot of pressure coming through from Prince Edward as they can smell blood at the present moment. A good line out from Prince Edward, and they go for the maul here. They're going to go for a big shove, and Prince Edward here really pushing through. It looks like they're now in the 22, and finally the maul is broken. The ball comes out to Tinashe Hombiro. It goes for the cross kick here. He's got men on the far side. A good take there from Prince Edward, and they will pick up the ball, but unfortunately a turnover of possession, and once again it looks like Prince Edward were not letting go of the man in the tackle. Action galore here on Jubilee Field, Dirk.
The question is, where's the advantage? He had his arm out for advantage for collapsing that maul. The captain kicked it cross field because it's speculative. I have the advantage, and now he's given a penalty to Churchill. But I guess one thing is Prince Edward are playing deep in the half of Churchill. So if you're a Prince Edward supporter, this isn't a bad place to be. He has the chat now between the referee and the touch judge. And I have no doubt, there we go, he's saying, you gave advantage for collapsing. There was no advantage. They haven't even gained any territory. So surely it should be a penalty to Prince Edward back here where I am on this side.
Not so sure what will happen there after consultations with the assistant referee. The referee trying to explain something to Matthew Owuru there, and so not so sure what's going to happen here. If that's going to be a penalty given to Prince Edward, it would sound very unfair against Churchill, because the game had already gone on, and it's very unfair. And the penalty goes to Prince Edward here, and you kind of feel it's very unfortunate when decisions aren't made at the right time.
Well, decision's probably not made at the right time because he's given the penalty to Churchill, but this is the right decision. He had called advantage, and the captain of Prince Edward had kicked it. And to be honest, that's the right call. It was advantage. Captain takes a quick tap himself, and it looks like he's into touch. But what he has done, he's taken play right to the try line. So a chance here. Churchill are going to have to try and work out of this position. But Prince Edward really putting pressure on. I do think it was unfair in the sense that he'd given the penalty and Churchill lined up to clear their lines. But that was the right decision for me.
Oh, yes, and after all is said and done, once the law book states it as it is and it has been interpreted right, then it has to be done in that way. So Churchill once again go for their line out. They cannot afford to lose their line out. It looks like a good line out. The ball comes out, but it's bobbled over, and Prince Edward get the ball, and it's try time. And you just kind of feel that they were a little bit, they lost the concentration, and unfortunately the game here will start to run away from Churchill because of just that despondency after that penalty.
Well, it was a terrible decision. It's a defensive line out. You're 5 meters from your own try line, and you try and tap the ball back to your scrum half. Terrible decision. He has to catch the ball. He has to give some kind of protection to his scrum half, and then allow the fly half to kick. Like you said, the more and more this goes on, the last 10 minutes, they've scored 3 tries now, Prince Edward, and it's slowly starting to fall away for Churchill. I think as well they feel disgruntled by some of the decisions, which I don't think have been unfair. I think that the decisions have been fair, but it's now starting to play on the minds of Churchill. They've been caught questioning the referee, quick tap, try. Here they've been caught, why is the penalty gone all the way back? A terrible line out, try. So it's getting worse and worse for Churchill, and the best thing they can do, because their bench is also animated, they need to just take a deep breath and try and slow this game down again and remember why they were leading at halftime.
Oh yes, they need to remember why, but it looks like there's a kicking tee coming here for Tinashe Ombiro as he goes for the conversion. But it looks like there is a little bit of a discussion happening with Churchill there, trying to see if they can find some momentum, trying to see if they can really pull themselves together and get back into the game. But right now, it is Prince Edward on the ascendancy, and they are currently leading 20 points to 14. And once again, it doesn't look like good scenes in the crowd at the present moment, as there is a little bit of a scuffle here. But once again, we'll keep our eyes focused on the field of play here and try to ensure that we don't take our eyes off the field of play. So Tinashe Ombiro here has got the unenviable task once again from a deep angle to try and get the ball in and extend the lead to 22 points to 14. It's looking pretty good. It's come in, it's in between the posts, and it's a wonderful conversion. Now 23 minutes gone in this match, and once again, Churchill will have to climb the mountain that they had already climbed in the first half. They had already taken the ascendancy, but now it seems like they're on the back foot. The restart has to be really good, and that is the only way they can get onto Prince Edward's necks.
Well, like I said, I'm hoping that one of the chats from the captain, I mean, he looks like a level-headed guy, but he's also starting to lose his rag a little bit. He's questioned the referee on a couple of decisions. I'm hoping that after that try was scored, that he just spoke to his team and said, guys, you know what? Let's go back to the game plan we had. Let's slow this game down. We'll get an opportunity. Be patient. But if we're running around like just headless chickens, we're under pressure here, and they're going to continue scoring against us. They need to change their game plan, Churchill. They've lost their shape, they've lost their structure, and Prince Edward are flying at the moment.
Oh yes, most definitely. A nice high-hanging kick Churchill has been collecting them all day, but this time around it looks like Prince Edward get it, and unfortunately Churchill were offside on that occasion on the restart, and it's another penalty. And Tinashe Ombiro all day, every day, will be kicking those into touch, looking to gain territory here, looking to get the set piece right, and ultimately look to push deeper and deeper into Churchill territory.
You want to run it.
But once again, a lovely line out coming through from Prince Edward, looking to run those wonderful lines that we know that they can. And Churchill could be caught unaware here, but it looks like they delay the pass just a little, go for the sidestep, but unfortunately unable to break the defensive line of Churchill. Now Churchill lining up here, and good leg drive from Prince Edward as they look to keep on pressing forward, but it looks like a penalty advantage to Churchill there for falling into the ruck. Prince Edward did they at that moment, and at this time you kind of feel if they go for touch, gain some territory, their lineouts have been pretty good, and maybe they can now go onto the front foot. So the kick comes out here, and it looks like a very good kick from Churchill. It goes way past the halfway line, and it gets to the 10-yard line of Prince Edward at the moment.
Well, that's just an example of, you saw after they'd won that ball and won the penalty, the excitement amongst the Churchill players. They need to win the small battles. They'd stopped winning those. And if they can start doing that, it'll give them a little bit of belief again. It'll push the chests out a little bit. They've got to start with the small little wins. It'll get them back into this game.
And it was a good line out, but unfortunately the scrum half knocking on after the lock threw the ball there back to him. Now Prince Edward are on the ascendancy with another attack against Churchill there, and unfortunately Tinashe Ombiro there being put under pressure and losing the ball in contact. Now Dirk, one of the other issues that I can point out concerning this young man Tinashe Ombiro is the fact that he's really a good flyer, a good kicker, but he's a man who tends to lose concentration when you put him under pressure. We saw him in the first half. He knocked the ball on forward when Churchill was rushing on with their defensive line, and that's something that he needs to try and fix. Look, if there's a rushing defense and you can't kick it away, or if you can't pass it away, just take it into contact and recycle the ball. No need to try and be fancy.
I think what he's done in the second half is he's played more basic rugby, which he wasn't doing in the first half. I think there was a little bit of show pony in the first half, trying to be too fancy. There's a tight head to Prince Edward. Backwards, says the referee. Just holding on to the ball, the scrum half, but they're on the front foot again over the 22. Prince Edward still going. So another chance here for them to really put this game to bed. The ball goes to ground, but the referee decides that it's a scrum down for Churchill as Prince Edward take it into contact. He needs to remember that when he's doing the basics well, Prince Edward play a nice brand of rugby. When he's trying to be too fancy, he complicates the whole thing for his back line. They just seem to be a bunch of guys that if you let them run, and you let them run properly, they'll score tries for you. Don't need to be fancy, and he's been better in the second half.
Most definitely he has upped his game, and so have Prince Edward here. So Prince Edward still leading 22 points to 14 right now, and 28 minutes gone in the match. And if Churchill don't get a try anytime soon, there should be no way back in this match. But well done to them for coming out and giving Prince Edward a really good run for their money. And once again, well done to the Tigers for being able to be the second half team, which is what they are.
Well, to be honest, they haven't given them a run for their money. The first half was Churchill's half, and not out of chance. They played some really good rugby, and they outplayed Prince Edward. The only snag is I think they've come back, and what I said at the beginning of the game, you said who's going to win this game, and I said to you, if Churchill play their game and don't play into the hands of Prince Edward, they can beat them. And what they've done in the second half, they've played into the hands of Prince Edward. They've let them run at them. They've made some bad decisions. They've been under referee pressure as well. And it's been a total turnaround in the second half.
A total turnaround as Tinashe Hombiro grabs the ball there, goes into contact, and against Prince Edward have got men on the near side, but good tackle from the captain there, but it looks like it's a penalty for Churchill here. Prince Edward holding on to the ball as they were in the ruck. They get the ball here, and you kind of feel that with time running out for Churchill here, not so sure if they're going to go for a run, quick tap and run. And I'm sure that's not part of their game. They are going to go for touch here, try to win the line out, and maybe see if they can run the ball. But their last couple of line outs, especially in the second half, have been really, really poor in terms of losing the ball. Getting the ball well in the line out, but throwing it back to the scrum half and ultimately it being knocked on. And you don't need that. You need it to get to the scrum half and then get it out wide to the line. And that's the only way you're going to put pressure on Prince Edward. But then again, it's a game of fine margins, and that's exactly what you get.
Well, I think Prince Edward are about to read the final rights to Churchill. They'll have to score twice here, Churchill. They trail by 8 points. That's better. That's better from the Bulldogs. Where's the support runners? Oh, speculative pass in the hands of Prince Edward. And a chance again for them to push Churchill all the way back into their own half.
And it looks like Prince Edward have been sucked into a maul here by Churchill, and it's a matter of time before the referee finally blows, and it will be scrummed down and Churchill's ball. And once again, Dirk, really being proven right. As Churchill were playing that game and playing their game, it was a break from one of their forwards, and they hit at Prince Edward. Unfortunately, the support wasn't there to have continuity of play, but luckily for them, they were able to suck Prince Edward into a maul after a speculative pass. Now they've got a scrum close to the 22 of Prince Edward, an opportunity as well to run the ball down the line and suck Prince Edward in as well.
Well, they haven't really had too many of those opportunities in the second half, have they? Prince Edward have sort of just blocked them out. And watch again the rush defence. I'm sure Prince Edward will employ that again to just totally smash that running line of Prince Edward, or rather of Churchill.
And here comes the ball again, but it looks like they are going to continuously go for face play here. And so far it is successful. They are in the 22 of Prince Edward, and they will look to continue to penetrate. Here comes Captain Matthew Owuru. A big hit from one of their forwards. That's their number 4 lock there, who's bandaged in the head. Hopefully he didn't hurt himself again. The ball finally comes out here. The ball comes out, and a break through the defensive line of Prince Edward. Unfortunately, it didn't have enough balance there, and Churchill will look to run rings around Prince Edward here. Now they are deep in Prince Edward territory, and the ball comes out of the ruck, and it is a penalty for Churchill as Prince Edward didn't let go in the tackle. A quick tap and go here from Churchill, and once again the penalty advantage remains with Churchill. Can they finally put the ball down here? But once again the penalty has been signaled for Prince Edward not going back 10, and already a quick chat by the referee with Captain Tinashe Hombiro here. Can Churchill steal a try and try and make sure that something goes here for Churchill? Not so sure if they're going to go for pause or if they're going to go for a quick tap and go here. But it is a yellow card coming through for Anthony Mundange Fufu there. I think that is for dissent against the referee after that decision was made. Well,
you can see that the captain of Churchill has just asked the referee how much time. We don't know what that call was, but the minute that he told him, Churchill said they'll kick for the posts. So it means that the current lead, which is 8, if he kicks this over, he's called it, so I think they have to kick it.
Try. 3 hits to a try.
So he does convert it. It means that the gap now only 5. So Churchill still had an opportunity. The difference there, Ruvimbo, they held on to the ball. They put Prince Edward again under pressure. That's how they played in the first half. What did Prince Edward do? Give away penalties. It's resulted in a yellow card, and it means now that they're down to 14 men for the final parts of this second half.
Oh yes, down to 14 men, and Churchill will really have to bring it strong here. They do have some time, I guess, in the match, and they will look to take advantage here as Tinashe Hombiro takes the ball, is ready to restart play for us at the iconic Jubilee Field. It is Prince Edward still leading 22 points to 17. The ball bounces pretty kindly for Churchill here, but not so sure what's happening here as the referee has stopped play. But the ball had bounced kindly for Prince Edward here, and it looks like it is going to be a consultation with the assistant referee, but that ball was knocked backwards and there was a stop in play, and it is a knock-on from it looks like it was a poor kick, maybe from Prince Edward, going straight into the 22, and I guess that is an opportunity for Churchill to get a scrum at the halfway mark. And once again, they've got an opportunity here to really put their hammer down and penetrate the Prince Edward defense.
Well, I'm not so sure what that call is, because the touch judge didn't put his flag up. So, to be honest, Prince Edward picked up the ball. They could have scored. Now he's pulled them all the way back to the halfway line for a scrum. Advantage Churchill.
Oh yes, advantage Churchill right now, and I'm sure that is going to be another big scrum from Churchill. The ball comes out. Matthew Owuru, the captain, collects it. The ball now finally coming down the line here, looking to penetrate on the blind side, and they go for a little bit of a kick there, but it looks like it had gone out of play. But it looks like it's a penalty call for Prince Edward being in an offside position. Now, can they go for touch here, have a set piece, and then finally go over for a try? Those are the questions that should be going through their mind. But it looks like they're going to go for a quick tap and go here, maybe backing some of their big men to do it. They go for a big hit, and it's a huge hit from Churchill here as they look to penetrate. But once again, it looks like Prince Edward falling into the ruck, but the ball has been presented. The ball comes out for Churchill here. A lovely sidestep from Matthew Owuru. A big push once again from him. You can always call on Captain Fantastic if you want to grab some yards. The ball comes out for Churchill once again, but running back into traffic, you really don't expect that from Churchill. The ball comes out once again, going over to the far side here. They have an opportunity to penetrate and attack, and once again they're keeping it in the hands of the forwards, and they're making really good ground. Once again, Churchill break the defensive line, look to roll over here, but finally it looks like it's a penalty that has been given or rather it is a call for a knock-on, and unfortunately that signals the end of the game between the Prince Edward Tigers and the Churchill Bulldogs. What an encounter this was, but Prince Edward coming out 22-17 winners. After all is said and done, at least both parties came to the match to play, Dirk.
Yeah, it was a great game of rugby. Maybe some questions on the reffing, and I think if you speak to Churchill, they'll question it. But I think in the end, maybe Prince Edward need to be congratulated on their comeback. Churchill probably have a lot of themselves to blame for what's happened in the end. They controlled and dominated the first half. They then were on the back foot for the first 20-25 minutes of the second half and allowed 3 unanswered tries from Prince Edward. A late try from Churchill, it actually wasn't a late try, it was a penalty kick to get them back in the game, showed that little phase there of 2 minutes, showed that if they played that kind of rugby in the second half, they could have won this game. But it was all just a bit too much too late, and in the end, probably fair to say with the comeback, Prince Edward deserved winners.
Oh yes, fair with the comeback, as Dirk does say so. It has ended here at the Jubilee Field, the iconic Jubilee Field, and already you can see a couple of injuries there. Some young man having to be carried off the field of play because of the brutal encounter that it was, but what a game it was. And so Prince Edward Tigers coming out 22-17 winners, and in what was a fantastic and enthralling game right there.
Well, I tell you what, we look forward to when these two clash again, because no doubt they'll face each other in the season, and that's going to be epic. I think both teams will learn from their mistakes today. I think Churchill will feel that they could have won this game. Prince Edward will look at it and go, we played a good game of rugby and we won it. Churchill, if they'd continued their game plan, they could have overcome Prince Edward here, and no doubt that when they do face each other again, it's going to be another cracker.
Yes, we look forward to another cracker of a game, but looking at the field of play right now, it's already jam-packed with individuals, parents, schoolboys, all supporting the Tigers and congratulating them on a hard-fought win, a hard-fought encounter there. And of course, at the end of the day, this was a great culmination of the Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival, the 2019 Dairibord Schools Rugby Festival. Well done to the Prince Edward Tigers, a well-hosted tournament. in terms of some of the games. And if we just go on summary, we would call the Kyle versus Lomagandi game as one of the games of the tournament. The Kyle St. George's game was really, really good. The Lomagandi versus St. John's College game was really good. Good in the sense that it wasn't really a high scoring kind of a game, but in terms of the quality of the game that was played. And you can expect the Craven Week side to really have quite a number of players coming from schools which you wouldn't normally see on that team sheet.
Yeah, so a reminder that we start the season a week from today, as Prince Edward will travel to Falcon for their first game of the proper season. St. John's will host Carl College and St. George's will host CBC. Those are some of the big encounters we look forward to in week one, and we'll try and bring as many of those to you live on the Facebook page. We thank you for watching over the last 7 days. We hope you've enjoyed the action, and we look forward to bringing you more action during the second term here in Zimbabwe. But I think we're done here at Prince Edward. The sun is setting. Prince Edward have overcome Churchill in the final game here at the Dairibord week. We thank you for watching, and it's goodbye.
Oh yes, the party goes long into the night, and we look forward to having you at the 2020 Rugby Festival that will be held here at Prince Edward. And of course, the action will definitely continue into the season. My name is Rimbo Chakureka, signing out.
I'm not going to give you it as well. Not a man's there.
Thank you.